Okay, so yesterday we read Buzz Buzz, and they just, because Freddy made a big mistake. He was swinging from the branch, and it broke, and it had a beehive on it. So now they are being attacked by bees. Now this chapter is Hey Fishy Fishy. Jump in the lake! Jump in the lake! Robbie yelled. The bees can't get us there. We both dove into the lake with all of our clothes on and stayed underwater for a few seconds, hoping the bees would fly away. When we finally came up for air, the bees had disappeared. Phew, that was a close one, I said to Robbie. Yeah, a little too close. Next time, would you please just listen to me? I know a lot more about animals than you. From now on, you're the boss, I said. Just then, my dad came down the path. I thought I heard you two screaming, is everything all right? And why are you in the lake? I thought I told you boys to collect firewood before we went swimming. We came out of the lake with our shoes sloshing and our clothes dripping wet. My dad stared at us for a minute. Then he said, would one of you like to tell me what's going on here? We had a little problem, Mr. Thresher, said Robbie. I can see that. Exactly what kind of problem, Freddy? Well, we were being chased by a swarm of angry bees. We jumped in the lake so they wouldn't sting us. A swarm of angry bees? That's scary. Why was a swarm of angry bees chasing you? Asked my dad. Well, sort of a long story, Dad, I said, giving Robbie a help me out kind of look. We happened to be right under a tree branch when something disturbed the beehive, so they chased us, Mr. Thresher. Really? Wow, I'm so glad neither of you got stung. How about if we get in our bathing suits, hang the wet clothes up to dry, and then we'll do some fishing? Sounds like a good idea to me, I said cheerfully. We went back to the campsite, changed into our bathing suits, grabbed our fishing gear, and headed back to the lake. We found a nice, big, flat rock for all of us to sit on. It was right near the water's edge. What kind of fish are in the lake, Mr. Thresher? Robbie asked. Trout. I hear they're really big ones, too. Here's the picture of them dripping wet. I'll let you try to find the word fin. I'm wondering what they're going to do about the sticks they were supposed to find. I think Kaylin had a question about that too. Like, do I need those for the fire, or is Dad just going to forget about them? I'm going to catch the biggest one in the lake, I bragged. We'll see about that, said Robbie. I'm a very good fisherman. So, Robbie, you've been fishing before? My dad asked. Oh yeah, lots of times with my grandpa. Well, this is the first time for Freddy and me, my dad said, as he tried to hang the lure at the end of the line. What's that, Mr. Thresher? Asked Robbie, pointing at the lure. To the lure. If you've been fishing before, then you must know what this is. It's a lure, bait for the fish. Oh, I've never used one of those. You haven't, I said? Nope, never. My grandpa and I always use worms. Worms? Yeah, worms. You mean like gummy worms? No, real live worms. Real live, ooey gooey squishy worms? Yep, you catch the best fish when you use worms. Really? Can I try using one? Of course, Robbie said, as he pulled a small jar of worms out of his pocket. Hey, where'd you get those? I went digging in my yard early this morning and I found some big, fat, juicy ones. Here, he said, pulling a worm out of the jar. Try this one. You'll have all the trout in the lake trying to eat that. He handed me one of the wriggly worms. I tried not to let it slip out of my fingers as my dad stuck it in the hook and at the end of my fishing line. Sorry, little guy, I said to the worm, but you're about to be a lunch for a fish. Then I cast my line into the water. Now what? Now you sit and wait, said Robbie. If you're going to catch a big fish, then you have to be patient. This is a long one. Holy buckets. I'm sure you guys would be disappointed if I don't finish it, so I'm going to read the whole thing. We sat there quietly for a few minutes, but then I felt a little tug at the end of my line. Hey, I think I've got something. Reel it in. My dad yelled. I started to reel the fish as fast as I could. I think it's a big one, I shouted. He's pulling pretty hard. I got the fish to surface in the water. Look. Do you see him, Dad? Do you see him? But before my dad could say anything, the fish wiggled free and swam away, and I was left with nothing but an empty hook. Shoot, he got away, I said, disappointed. Here, said Robbie, handing me another worm. Try again. But I'll never catch another fish that big. Did you see him? He was big, all right, said my dad, and I'm sure there's plenty more like him in the lake. But you'll never catch anything unless you put your line back in the water. I stuck a fresh worm on the hook and threw it back in the lake. Then I waited. I didn't feel even the slight single tug on my line. Here, fishy, I called. Come get your lunch. Robbie laughed. They're not dogs, Freddy. They don't come when you call. Oh, yeah, I said. Oh, no. Oh, yeah? I said. You're wrong, because I've got a huge one tugging on my line right now. I jumped to my feet so I could use more muscle to reel him in. I planted my feet firmly on the rock and started turning the reel as fast as I could. That's it, Freddy, Dad yelled. Keep reeling him in. You almost got him. He's a beaut. Don't worry, Dad. I wouldn't let him get away this time, I shouted. Look at him, Robbie, look, I screamed as I jumped up and down. Then, before I knew what was happening, my foot slipped. I lost my balance and the fish pulled me, splish splash, right into the lake. Hey, Freddy, what are you doing? My dad yelled. You're supposed to pull a fish out of the lake, not go in after him. Ha ha, very funny, Dad, I said as he helped pull me out of the water. Oh, man, that's the second time he's in the water. Looks like he needs a haircut. I'm just teasing, said Dad. Don't get so upset. I just can't believe I let that one get away too. And now I lost the fishing pole. It's somewhere in the bottom of the lake. It's not the end of the world. But if we don't catch any fish, then what are we going to eat for dinner? I brought along some hot dogs just in case the fish didn't go as well as we planned, my dad said, smiling. So why don't you and Robbie go for a swim? What do you say? I turned to Robbie. Is that okay with you? Robbie smiled, jumped in, and yelled, Last one in's a rotten egg. Then he jumped into the lake. Well, that fishing adventure wasn't really long, right? You have to push pause if you want to look longer for the word fin. Oh, and that's it. They're doing all the camping things, because look at this next one. Pass the marshmallows, please. Oh, now it's time for the fire. I wonder if the boys forgot that they didn't get any sticks. I'm just curious, what's chapter 7? I can go look at the table of contents. After they have marshmallows, and it's called, shh, what's that? Well, that's funny, that's probably where they see something. Okay. So far, he's making it through. So far, he doesn't have to do Susie's chores.